got a special just surprise here that I've been wanting to do for several weeks with a good friend of mine now who, started with us as a client. And just, I've learned a lot from this guy. I've actually watched some of his videos on Facebook and Instagram, and this guy has just massively grown since the training. It's not all about just the income you make once you start to learn and master NEPQ. It's about who you become as a person. It's about people you're able to help, and so many other things, even outside of sales, which I really, really love. So Brian, welcome to the call. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to make sure the beard was still there. So you assured me your wife will not let you shave off the beard because you could lose your Samson powers.
It's here. When I first got involved in NEPQ, my beard, remember we met in person, and my beard was absolutely insane. And
you look like a pioneer from like the 1850s, man.
Yeah. And I had been bulking, so I was like wearing this weight, and I had this beard, and it was like the worst I've ever looked at my whole life. But I was having a blast because I had this thing in my head all along that, I look the part now, but I always thought you had to look a certain way or, whatever. You had to have all these things. And I started learning different skills, and I recognized I could look shabby. And if I have the right skills, it doesn't matter. Oh, and by the way, because I'm the top salesperson, who's going to tell me to shave? I'm like, when are they going to tell me to shave my beard? And they never. It kept. I had to eventually, just get rid of it.
Yeah, I love that. And we'll talk about that. I love that. There's a lot of training out there. I've read books that are like, you have to wear a tie and you have to, wear this nice watch and all this. And I'm like, I was the #1 salesperson in the country. And we're talking about out of 30,000 reps in my first company that I sold for. Okay. I was making like $80,000 a month. I was like 23. And I literally, it was a door-to-door sales job, and I literally wear khakis, just a pair of khaki pants, like a polo like this. I would wear a Walmart watch. So all my other guys, they wear like nice watches, like spend money they didn't have. I wear a Walmart watch, which was like $5 or $10. I would wear glasses with tape on the side on purpose. And I would wear like those old New Balance, white shoes. It's like the old man shoes. You know what I'm talking about?
Well,
I would wear those. And it would be unassuming, very relaxed. And I did that on purpose because it lowered people's guards. I didn't wear any jewelry. I had, other reps in the company that sold 10% of what I did. They'd have chains on and gold and watches, like looking all cool and like really nice shoes.
Who wants to buy from someone who's just flexing? Like flex on your own time. Like don't.
Some would wear suits, and I'm like, here, this like dork that shows up on the door, but it would make the guard go down. That's so important. So let's dive right into this. I know you're going to give us some golden nuggets here.
Finish that thought. I mean, to talk about skills versus like tools or skills versus looks. I mean, you could take someone and you could have the best Hollywood cameras out there. You could have a professional set. You could have a whole crew. And if they're not skilled on camera, they're going to be terrible. Or you could take like Tom Hanks with an iPhone 5 and he's going to absolutely crush it. And he could be sitting there in his on his couch. So it's really the difference between skills versus,
Now let's dive into this. Tell us a little bit more about your background. Like, how did you get involved in sales? What was like one of your first sales jobs? Like, tell us a little bit about that so everybody understands, were you born out of your mother's womb and you're just some amazing salesperson or what happened?
Well, my first go at sales is I wanted to be a professional skateboarder when I was a teenager. And I recognized pretty early, based on my lack of skateboarding skills, that would never happen. So in order to have any access to the lifestyle of a professional skateboarder, I decided to start a skateboarding company with a partner when I was 17. And we just had a bunch of boards and apparel and stuff. So I started going door to door, shop to shop, and selling products as like a 17 and 18-year-old. So that was my first go. And we ended up having 27 stores selling our products, and got a ton of no's and a ton of rejection. But that was my first go at sales. And then I got in Amway. I started network marketing, and I actually learned a ton of just terrible sales skills. Like, I think unfortunately network marketing is like, God bless you if that's what you do, but a lot of the training in network marketing is the worst stuff I've ever seen.
So bad. Well, they say, oh, you're not in sales. You don't sell anything. You just share information. Well, that's the problem. That's the biggest problem is you're sharing information. You're sharing your solution.
Yeah. So I did that. And, I read a whole bunch of books, because failure in Amway especially was driving me to read. And so I started doing that, and I got into tech support, which I got out of sales. So I was building Amway on the side, kind of pursuing the freedom dream. But tech support, I had a really unique mind for solving problems, technical problems. And it actually made me hungry for something like NEPQ later, because my brain wants to troubleshoot something. And I got really great at troubleshooting, and I can recognize problems. But then my next sales gig, I got out of technical. I became a technical trainer, and I worked at Sony PlayStation and was teaching things like video game testing. But Sony PlayStation is a cool job, but you're not going to make any money because it's a dream job, and it's so cool that they don't have to pay you very much to do it. And that's where because I wanted to make more money, and I got a very basic sales job selling IT training, basically. And got really big into like Grant Cardone and just anything I could get my hands on. I got on Cardone University, and or there's another guy. I was just consuming as much sales training as I possibly could.
You started to go through like the Grant Cardone stuff and everything. Like what was going on? Like what type of results were you getting from selling that type of style, that type of way?
Well, I was the top salesperson. I broke a lot of their records, but the bar was pretty low. So the problem with using those techniques is it was the personal cost to me, because I am actually more of I value being authentic. Like I really want to be authentic with just how I show up, and I like a good vibe. So the problem with using a lot of the Cardone techniques or a lot of the other is the vibe was ruined, but I was willing to do it because sure, I'll be the awkward guy in the party if I can make a lot of money, but gosh, this sucks. And I start, burning out. So then I got into selling personal development later with the guy named John Assaraf, who's a celebrity entrepreneur and just selling personal development and business coaching type programs.
John Assaraf from the video The Secret, right?
Yep. Yeah. So my track record of sales success got me recruited to this particular position through his network. And it was a really great gig, and I became the top salesperson. I mean, that's not that amazing. There's only a few people there anyway. But but still, I was really hungry. So I started learning from John, because John's a sales trainer, and there was still something off. And I could tell it, I could sense it, like intuitively. I could feel it. I could feel that I'm being the awkward guy. I'm the awkward guy at this party. And that there's just something that's like, how can you be successful? I don't care if you're dating or if you're just, how can you be successful if you're being awkward? Yeah. And I was thinking there's something wrong. And I kept pursuing training, reading books. I could get to a certain level, but I couldn't get beyond that level. I could be. Well, I know
you told me. I mean, you were getting up to like $7,000 and $8,000 a month in straight commissions, and for a lot of people, that's a really good income, right? I'm not. That's a good income. Especially young, that's a good income. But I think you recognize, like, you know what? There's something I could be doing better. Because you're a problem solver in your mind, right? You've got that kind of technical background, and that type of mindset thinks about how do I solve problems. You just didn't quite, there was something missing there. How long did that go on for?
I'm trying to figure out how to just to show up and communicate as a human being. I mean, part of it is like I had this, thing with my brain, and I would recognize that the teacher said there was something wrong with me when I was a second grader. So I've always had this sense of like, I'm different, or I can't, like, inability to connect. So I've been searching for a long time, and how do I just communicate in a normal way? Yeah. But it was, it'd been years of serious effort. And I just found an Instagram ad, and I am like so skeptical about I often will hide people's Instagram ads. So I'm like Instagram, please, I'm not interested in sales or entrepreneurship. I don't want to start a business. And I keep telling them not to, like, I'm trying to trick them into thinking I'm just some normal dude, like a cubicle job or something. But so I saw the ad. Okay, and I started seeing some of the stuff that you were sharing, and it was your delivery, and there was something that was just clicking. I didn't know what it was. I understand now, having gone through the training, what it was about what you were doing that made me gravitate toward you. It's the NEPQ methodology. But I was like, okay, I'll bite, and I did like some little thing or something, and then it just kept making sense, and I started carrying even the little things that I learned from you into a next sales call. And I found, oh, I'm not the awkward guy at the party. Like this person, instead of cringing a little bit, because if you're not using these skills, you're operating in a way that you're cringing. Like if you really feel your body, by the way, most salespeople are disassociated from their body. But if you actually feel your body, you're cringing a little bit. And the person you're with is cringing a little bit. And I found myself, by using some of those initial skills, I'm relaxing, they're relaxing, and we're having a more real connection.
Real conversation. Well, there's two things that are very important that you hit on there. So when we call a prospect, or when we knock on a door, or we cold call, or we are in a meeting with the prospect, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's in person, doesn't matter. Your prospect, within that first 30 to 45 seconds, even 60-second part, is picking up on social cues from you. They're picking up from your tonality, and they're also picking up from what you are saying or asking. That's going to cause one or two things to happen. One, if you're doing it wrong, like you were talking about before, the aggressive style, okay, you're going to trigger sales resistance, and they're going to start pushing back. Or two, if you do it the right way, NEPQ, and ask the right questions, it causes them to be curious enough to want to engage in the conversation, because it's a more human conversation. Now, it's not talking about the weather or who won the game. It's a very skilled conversation. So you started having some results there. I think you got into NEPQ. You purchased like the full course.
I want to be honest about the situation that I was in, because I was making money. I was making the whatever. But I was full commission, which means stress all day, every day. Always knowing what day it is in the month and how many more selling days you have is just miserable, right? Because, and you're sure we all may do that to some extent, but we're doing it primarily out of fear. And because the fact that I didn't have a process that I knew I could count on, that like I could just get me through whatever situation, even if the lead flow stopped or whatever, I could still find a way to sell and be successful. That was constant fear, and constant anxiety, stress. And it would weigh on me. And it would be like a Saturday, and I'd feel the stress of the week, for the stress from being aggressive and going against my nature. All of a sudden I'd have like, just Saturday, I just would get like this like weird anxiety would start hitting me like at 10 a.m. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to, like, this is my day off, and I'm sitting here like I can't connect with my wife. And so honestly, like, sales is brutal. If you don't have the right skills, it can be a very brutal game and turn into a lot of problems. So it was at that point where I really, I think that was a primary driver, wanting to express myself to make more money, but wanting to get rid of this thing on my back. And so I started going through NEPQ, and my income had gone up, right, from like 8 to like 12 pretty quickly, which is, by the way, that's like a life-changing change. That's not like
an extra 4,000 or 5,000 a month within like a month or so after training. That's a big deal.
It's life-changing. It's at that level. Sometimes we hear, I'm in this group, I see people making $1 million and stuff. Man, the change from like 8 to 12 a month is like maybe more significant from 500 to $1 million. Like, it's a significant change. Those early, or to going from the 12 to the 20, significant life-changing moves. So once I got into the advanced training, that's where I went from the 12 to the 20.
So that's what I wanted to talk about. So you went to the regular NEPQ course. Your income went from like 7 a month up to 12, 13 a month, like very quickly. I remember you posting it, because I monitor people and like their progress. And when you came in there, I was like, oh, wow, that was quick. like 30 days, boom, you made it like an extra $5,000, and it just kept going. So you got up to, now you're on pace to make 150, 160,000 a year. A lot of salespeople would just stop with that. They're like, I'm good. I know everything I need to know. Like, 12, 13,000 a month is all I ever need to make. What caused you to be like, you know what? I need to learn more. Like, I need to make more. I need to get into more advanced training with Jeremy. Like, what was that mindset change in your mind? Like, what happened?
That is a good question, because it was like something I wanted, but it wasn't immediately obvious that I need it. When people make decisions to explore their real potential versus settling, it's always like a very complex thing. But I think curiosity, but also I want freedom, man. I want freedom. And it's like more so than I wanted the money. Like, I wanted freedom in my life. And freedom in my mind, it really comes from being a successful communicator, because the things that you want in your life are always going to come from being a successful communicator. And I felt like how deep does this rabbit hole go? Because I feel like actually the normal course was like the red pill versus the blue pill. And you get to take like, You get to take like a mini red pill. I want like the full thing. I want to see what actually can happen and what else I can unlock in my own potential and just have my life become easier. Another factor that played into this was at the job, the lead flow started going down too. And I want to be able to make money regardless of the circumstance.
I need to increase my conversion rates. If I've only got 10 leads this week, I need to, instead of closing 3 out of 10, I need to learn how to close 7 out of 10.
Right. Yeah. It made me greed, man. Like, shoot, I want to make money. And I have friends that made money, and it's like, that's okay. Like, why would I want to make 50 when I could make way more? Like,
why would you want to work the same amount of hours to make less money than you could if you knew the right skills? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't like wasting time. And salespeople, I think, are notoriously big on not wasting time, which is why we're all reluctant to like using a CRM, using our notes. And it's like, if you don't have if you're not getting this sort of training, you are wasting your entire freaking day. Like, you're not wasting 5 minutes here and there.
Yeah. No, I loved it. And I watched your progress. So you got in our Inner Circle program. We wrote out your sales structure to what you sell. At that point, you were selling for John Astroff. I still remember we wrote that out together. Break down, record a call. You were asking me questions pretty much every day through Boxer, and your income doubles. You go from like 12 to 25,000 a month. What was going on in your mind at that point? Like, what was changing in your life with you, your wife? Like, what happened?
Gosh, a whole lot more peace of mind, that's for sure. But a confidence that had nothing to do with my job, or I don't know. So something I wrote in prep for this call is I've always, I think a lot of people in sales want FU money, which I absolutely am interested in FU money, but
sure.
FU skills. Like, there's something you can have way before FU money is you can have FU skills. And I wanted
skills. You have to have those skills, right?
And FU skills come way before FU money. And I wanted that sort of skill set where it was like, you're lucky that I'm here. And I'm humble at heart, but I want the right to do that. I didn't do well in school, which I alluded to earlier, this learning disability thing that I have that I work through. I didn't have a college degree. I didn't feel like I had any home court advantage in my life or my career. So I wanted some sort of skill base that I knew I all of a sudden had an FU skill that I could be good.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the peace of mind and like the swagger that comes from having those sort of skills.
It's true, right? We call that collective confidence. I remember we had a live event. You came to, it was like a day and a half event or something like that. You came into that event, and I remember on some type of recording that we got with you with our video team, you talked about, how back, 10 years ago, whenever it was when the crash happened, how, you were in this situation where you just didn't have the money for, I think you and your wife were just married at that point or something. And now when you started learning those sales skills, it like gave you this like inner peace that no matter what happens with the economy, no matter what happens, you can switch to a different sales job tomorrow, and you're going to be one of the top people, if not the very best person in the first month.
Yeah. And knowing that problem, like the money problem, in terms of if I'm willing to work hard, I can always pay my bills, plus. Just knowing that problem is solved for me, it's huge. Like, now I can actually figure out how to explore my actual potential instead of just trying to worry about making money and do I have the skills and stuff. So that's what I'm doing now in this next chapter.
Yeah, I mean, when you go through NEPQ and you learn the right questions to ask at the right time, especially when you go through the Inner Circle program, where we do that with the member, and we break down recorded calls, we do Voxer, all that stuff, questions, role playing especially. It doesn't matter what you sell. Like, you literally can leave what you're doing tomorrow, go to a new sales job. You could go sell cars tomorrow, be the number one salesperson in that company. You could go sell SaaS software in two weeks, be the number one guy there. It doesn't matter, because you understand the principles, right? You understand the structure of questions. You understand what problems your product or service solves, and what problems that your prospects have, and maybe problems that your prospects don't even know they have, right? Once you learn that, it's easy. Once you learn what problems does your product or service solve, and what problems do my prospects have I'm talking to, it's easy to structure that once you've gone through that training program. You literally can go do anything you want and be successful 100%.
In the problem finder method, just even making a shift around being a problem solver to a problem finder, that's when the whole world opens up to you.
Yeah.
When you make that shift,
why is that? You were already thinking like a problem solver before, because it's your background, the way you think. But once we taught you how to become a problem finder, and what that means, guys and gals, is that by certain questions you're asking, you're helping your prospect find problems that they didn't even think or know they had. Because one thing you guys all have to realize is most of your prospects you talk to, unless they're a lay down sale, don't even realize what their problems are. Or maybe they understand they have a problem, but they don't think it's very big or that bad. Or maybe they don't understand the consequences of what's going to happen if they don't do something about that problem. So what changed for you with that way of thinking?
Well, I learned that it's similar to going to a doctor. Somebody knows that something's wrong, and they go to a doctor, and the doctor needs to find the problem. What I didn't realize is that anyone who's willing to talk to a salesperson, a lot of times they don't actually know what's wrong. They have some intuitive thing they don't even really know, and they're showing up to you like a doctor to help them identify and find their problems. And even sometimes the root problem is something they didn't even imagine. They didn't even know was a thing. And once I started recognizing that, okay, there are problems everywhere around me all the time, period. And I can see the problems. And now that I have the skills to see the problems and help people find the problems, I can solve problems and make money and all sorts of things. I could start a new business right now, just walking around. So the thing that, if there's a small, what the problem is and want to solve it, is a fraction of the population in the thing that you're selling. Or you're lucky. You're just getting lucky because you're making money on needles and haystacks. But like, what if you could what if you could all of a sudden like have everything be a needle, or like more, you know what I mean? So,
well, it's like out of 100 prospects you talk to, there might be 5 that realize they have a massive bad problem. But everybody else, like there's maybe 5 or 10 that out of 100 that are never going to do anything anyways because they can never find the funding, never get the budget. They're just unqualified. But that leaves like 80 to 90% right there in the middle. And it's dependent on your sales ability and your question ability to get them over to your side of the fence rather than staying in the status quo and nothing ever changes for them. It's your sales ability that determines that 100%.
And and a lot of times as salespeople, we think that someone's showing up, oh, this person's just wasting my time. No, they're not. They have some sort of a deep knowing that something's wrong. They don't know what it is, and they're trying to get you to help them with it. Like I had someone reach out to me yesterday, and they texted me and they wanted to connect on something. And they had they just had some deep intuition that something was wrong, and I was able to help them with it. If they couldn't tell me what was wrong. Transition really quick. I just got off a call right before this. Is one of the things I'm doing now is I'm a speaker. I just teach on all sorts of different topics.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that, because you went from you go through NEPQ, you went from 7 to 12, 13, then you get through our advanced training, you double that, you start making $25,000 a month, and then a lot of opportunities started to open up for you. What happened at that point?
Stuff. Yeah, I got recruited to be a head of sales and marketing at a software company. So awesome compensation plan, and did well there. And then I became their brand spokesperson. Just so many things to share, but then I became their brand spokesperson, which opened up the door to me becoming a professional speaker and a higher level consultant. So I ended up leaving my head of sales and marketing position after 2 years of a lot of success there, to become a full-time speaker and consultant, because first of all, it's a ton of fun and there's a lot of money there, and the money per hour is insane. When you're good at it. That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, you're talking about $10,000 like per job. Tell us a little about one of the jobs you just did. You were talking to me the other day because I called you to ask you if you'd be willing to come out here and drop a few bombs for our members in the group, especially for some of our brand new members that might have not gone through the sales training course yet. What was something you just recently worked on, like a negotiation? I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm doing, and the NEPQ skills, they can be transferred to all sorts of different categories. So I've transferred NEPQ skills plus some cognitive bias and psychology knowledge, even plus that, to negotiations. But the foundation, like I just got off a negotiation call where I'm helping a wedding venue, because COVID, right? It's like a very difficult situation where wedding venues are cancellations, and there's a lot of drama and a lot of heartache by the wedding venues and the parents and the children and people trying to get married. And so I just got off a call. I was able to use the NEPQ skills to avoid and save this business enormous amounts of money. But one of them just finally got escalated to me, because I've been training and coaching someone to operate with these skills. One of them, I just got off a call right before this call, and I was using the NEPQ persuasion skills, and the call was tremendously successful. We took someone they had lawyered up, lawyered up. They were ready to go to war, and we got them in a really good place. And we just made an amazing deal. So that's been great.
Right. Yeah. Now look back with your previous skills before you learned NEPQ, when you were going through like the Cardone, push him, and I've nothing against Grant Cardone. His motivational stuff I think is amazing. It's one of the best. But that type of training, would that work with what you're doing now?
There's no chance.
Yeah.
No.
Why?
The energy is because if you're negotiating a contentious situation, people need to be persuading themselves, and they need to feel a sense of ease, and they need to feel it because their brain. So the Cardone thing makes everyone anxiety. It gives them anxiety, and anxiety in the brain reduces people's ability to think clearly and be open to new ideas. So the NEPQ stuff, it allows them to create this kind of neutral blank slate so that we can have an actual conversation, and their brain is in a place to receive and be creative and be open. So that stuff, if I was just being like pushy and all that.
Yeah, they would have shut down, right? So when you're being pushy, aggressive, and we're talking about sales, but it's also negotiation with what you just did as a consultant. You're negotiating for some of these companies. When you're pushing aggressive, it just shuts people's openness down. Like you said, when you ask the right questions that are more of a neutral frame, they feel like you are there to help them solve some of these challenges, and the slate is open, and they're open to ideas. And it's a win-win situation. They feel that it's fair.
Yeah, and the wording of how you say, like, there are very specific ways you can word something, and it's not obvious to people unless you're trained. Because I'll share with someone and I'll say, hey, say this. And they don't say it exactly. And I know a lot of salespeople are reluctant because, I want to do me and I want to have my personality and all this stuff. It's like, whatever. Like, then there's a reason that some of these things work the way that they do.
Yeah.
And it's not obvious. Like if you don't have the training and you hear a certain thing that needs to be said in a certain way, you won't even understand why that thing works. You'll miss it.
Yeah.
So it's not even just the questions. It's the way that I say certain things that help me become a very powerful negotiator. And that's what's gotten me good.
Yeah. It's the tonality. It's your verbal pausing. I mean, there's so many social cues in there, right? And I love that stuff. I watched some of your videos. I love it. You've picked it up extremely well.
And there's some things that you teach that I'm not going to share on this video because, I mean, here's something. For anyone that is in the NEPQ training, one of the first sessions of the advanced inner circle is all of a sudden, like, I realized that there's more. Because you kind of get the feeling that, he gave everything here. And all of a sudden, one of the things you said to me, which was so fascinating, and I will not share it on this call, that I refuse to, is you were like, this is something you're not going to learn in NEPQ normal training. There's this thing that you do here, and this is why it works. And that I do that all the time. Like every day I do that. Like the thing that you taught me. So
no, it's true. It's the ins and outs. Dude, I can't thank you enough for being on here with us. I know you've got a hard stop pretty soon. What's your advice for people listening here that might be considering, like, hey, I'd like to look at possibly Jeremy and his team training us in NEPQ to get these type of sales results? What would be your best advice for them?
Well, I mean, obviously do it. Number one, I mean, put it on a credit card, like if you have to. I mean, like, go in on yourself. Like, what we put so much, you'll make the money back. You'll write it off. You'll do it. Just go for it. Like, you don't want to wonder what if. Like, what if? And by the way, like, I'm someone who's invested a lot of money in training, so I get it too. If you've been like, look, I've seen people like Brian, I've seen people like Jeremy. Will something ever work for me? Actually, that reminds me, Jeremy. I used to watch these stupid freaking videos, the ones like we're doing, and I'd go, "That's great. When is my turn?" And I didn't realize it until this moment, but I finally found something that actually works. So here I am.
No, it's all about persuasion. It's all asking the right questions at the right time. It's all, like I said, the CD that changed my life back in the CD days was in 2001. I was a door-to-door salesperson. I was 21, 22, somewhere in that range. And my sales manager, my first job, selling door-to-door, put in a Tony Robbins CD. I was about to quit. I'd made hardly any sales the first 7 weeks, straight commission. I was broke. My friends working at Wendy's were probably making more money than I was, minimum wage. And he said, and I'm probably butchering, but he said, most people fail for the simple reason they don't learn the right skills necessary to succeed. And he goes on to say that everybody's taught skills, like everybody in sales is taught skills. But he says the people who fail are the ones who are taught the wrong ones. And so when you learn the right skills, it's extremely easy to succeed. And Brian, you have really, not only did you learn the right skills, but you've actually done something with it, right? You log in, you go through the virtual training course, you went through the inner circle, the private, more one-on-one training with me. And now, and this is 3.5 years ago. This wasn't that long ago. This was like 3.5 years ago. You're crushing it, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year now. And 3 years ago, look where you're at.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say congratulations to you, because you're an inspiration to me to watch, and your learning ability, always learning more and everything. And I love watching some of your videos now and stuff that you post on YouTube. So I'm extremely impressed, my friend. So thanks for being on. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.